كتاب الفجار لفي سجين وما أدراك ما سجين كتاب مرقوم ويل يومئذ للمكذبين الذين يكذبون بيوم الدين وما يكذب به إلا كل معتد أثيم إذا تتلى عليه آياتنا قال أساطير الأولين كلا بل ران على قلوبهم ما كانوا يكسبون كلا إنهم عن ربهم يومئذ لمحجوبون ثم إنهم لصالوا الجحيم ثم يقال هذا الذي كنتم به تكذبون كلا إن كتاب الأبرار لفي عليين وما أدراك ما عليون كتاب مرقوم يشهده المقربون إن الأبرار لفي نعيم على الأرائك ينظرون تعرف في وجوههم نظرة النعيم يسقون من رحيق مختوم ختامه مسك وفي ذلك فليتنافس المتنافسون ومزاجه من تسنيم عينا يشرب بها المقربون إن الذين أجرموا كانوا من الذين آمنوا يضحكون وإذا مروا بهم يتغامزون وإذا انقلبوا إلى أهلهم انقلبوا فكهين وإذا رأوهم قالوا إن هؤلاء لضالون وما أرسلوا عليهم حافظين فاليوم الذين آمنوا من الكفار يضحكون على الأرائك ينظرون هل ثوب الكفار ما كانوا يفعلون صدق الله العلي العظيم صلى على محمد وآل محمد.
We are actually commemorating. Maybe if I move more to this side so I can. Can we move the table a bit to the left? because half of the crowd are hidden. It's just that some people are hiding behind the curtain, and I'm gonna pick on them when we get to the question time. So I just want to spot them out. Anyway. لحب محمد وآل محمد رحم الله من صلى عليهم. So today is actually between two kind of vital occasions, because yesterday was the martyrdom of Imam Rida alayhi salam, and of course this weekend we will have the commemoration of Arbaeen. So my lecture is going to be talking about Arbaeen and the lessons that we can learn from Imam Hussein alayhi salam. But I think it's very important also to talk about Imam Rida alayhi salam. So throughout my lecture, I'm going to bring some examples from Imam Rida alayhi salam as well. Now, if we look at today, we're going to talk about an overview of Arbaeen and its significance. And then after that, we're going to talk about lessons learned. And inshallah, at the end, we're going to do some sort of interactive session about personal experiences. So personal reflections that I would like you guys to comment on, inshallah. And then we can have a Q&A if everybody likes to contribute through a question. So what's the Arbaeen and what's its significance? I think most of the information I've put on the slide, everybody is very well aware of. And the point is to look at it in writing in front of us and then reflect on it and see, all right, what lessons can we learn? Obviously, the Battle of Karbala and the significance of that battle, Imam Hussein alayhi salam himself facing that, in the lowest narrations, 30,000 warriors that fought him, and then sacrificing himself knowingly that his family will be left alone, and knowing that his family will be taken as captives, knowing the aftermath of his death. But Imam alayhi salam saw that as a responsibility. So then if the Imam saw it as a responsibility, it's a responsibility to achieve what? That's the biggest question that we can ask ourselves. Even when Imam alayhi salam was leaving Mecca, and by the way, Imam left Mecca, and this is extremely important point. Let's leave Imam for a second, come back to this conversation, and then we're going to come back to the Imam Salamullah alayhi again. If I ask you a question now, if anyone wants to lead a revolution or any sort of political movement, there are two major points that you need to ensure you always protect and you always plan properly in order for you to be able to do a political change. First, the element of surprise. You always, any movement, any revolution over history, any sort of movement that overthrew a government needed the element of surprise, okay? The element of surprise, basically where nobody knows when are you acting and nobody is expecting it, and when they least expecting it, then you do your action, and therefore you have more chances, you increase your chances of overthrowing that government. That's a logical, rational step that everyone that's involved in the historical political movements has implemented. The second element is time. You have to be extremely fast, because as soon as you delay or as soon as you slow down that political stance or the political revolution or the movement you're doing, then a lot of factors will impact the plan you have, and therefore your delivery on time or meeting your targets will be impacted. So two elements we need in any sort of overthrowing of a regime or a government. One is the element of surprise. Two, the element of time. Okay, let's come to Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Did he apply the element of surprise? Well, let's see how he did it. Yawm al-Tarwiyah, for anybody that has been to Hajj, would know, Yawm al-Tarwiyah is the 8th day of the Hajj. It's one day before Arafah. That's when all the Hujjaj, the people who have gone to Hajj, either have already arrived in Mecca or are arriving. So the peak of the attendance of people in Mecca is Yawm al-Tarwiyah, the 8th of the Hajj. Also, if you are in Mecca now, you have to do Hajj because you are now within the season for Hajj. Imam Hussein left Mecca on Yawm al-Tarwiyah, on the 8th day of Hajj. And while his caravan was leading out of Mecca, all the caravans were coming in. So have you seen the M5 or the M4, how they get busy in the peak hours? Always you can spot the car that's going the other side. Because you're going, where is he going? So he literally went opposite to the direction of all the flow that was coming towards Mecca. And who was leaving? It's Imam Salamullah alayhi. Who doesn't know who Imam Hussein alayhi salam is? All Muslims knew. So did he actually act, or did he use the element of surprise for his movement? No, he didn't. He actually killed any perspective of surprise. He didn't. He went as public as possible and left Mecca in the peak time where everybody could visibly see him leaving. All right, so the element of surprise didn't exist. Okay, Imam, at least have the element of time. For element of time, what would you do? Let's look at his enemy, Ubaydullah ibn Ziyad. When Ubaydullah ibn Ziyad was the governor of Basra, and Yazid sent him the decree to take the governorship of Kufa to eliminate Muslim and to make sure that Imam Hussein alayhi salam doesn't reach Kufa, he came from Basra. See the element of surprise that he used, and also the element of time. He came from Basra wearing the same attire that Imam Hussein alayhi salam usually wears, and he covered his face, and he didn't bring any of his family, didn't bring any of his aides, he didn't come with anyone. He came with the fastest horse that he could ride, and he entered Kufa in the fastest manner possible. Why? Because the element of surprise and the element of time. Imam Hussein alayhi salam left Mecca taking all his family, including his newborn baby. Including his newborn baby. His daughters were 3, 4, his little kids, his nephews. Some of his nephews were 5, 6, 7. He took his family actively with him. We know that when you take your family with you, it slows you down. And he traveled extremely slowly, and we have actually historically even accurate maps of Imam Hussein alayhi salam's path from Mecca all the way to Iraq, and shows every single place that he camped. And you see he camped in every single caravanserai, as usually be called, or what we call today every single, let's say, motel that was on the way. He literally stopped in every single stop he could on the way. He was slowly moving, which doesn't go ahead with our political or any sort of political ambition. If you want to be overthrowing government, we said you need the surprise and you want time. So that shows Imam Hussein alayhi salam was not planning to overthrow the government. He was not planning a political move. So what were you planning, Imam? What were you planning? He answers it himself. He says when he was in Medina, and inshallah I'm going to draw on this statement another lesson in a second. He says, إِنِّي لَمْ أَخْرُجْ أَشِرًا وَلَا بَطَرًا. I did not rise because I want to cause evil, not because I want corruption, not because I want amusement. I have risen because I want to seek reform in my grandfather's nation. So that's one. Secondly, Imam writes a will to Muhammad ibn al-Hanafiyyah, and he says in his will that Allah has willed for me to die. to be killed. And Allah has willed for my family to be taken as captives. So Imam knew what's going to happen to him. Then, when he left Mecca, he says in his own words, he says, Salawatullah wa salamu alayhi, Man iltahaqa bina stushhid. Whoever leaves with us, whoever comes with us, will be martyred. Imagine if you're a political leader and you want to invite people to come for your cause and to fight for you. You haven't even risen yet, and you're facing people and you tell them, if you join my movement, you will be dying. You'll die. You'll be killed. What sort of political invite is that? But then he continues. He goes, whoever comes with us will be martyred. من التحق بنا استشهد ومن لم يلتحق بنا لم يدرك الفتح. And whoever did not join us will not reach the triumph or the conquest. Imam, what triumph, what conquest? What are you referring to? Then Imam Salamullah alayhi was talking about something much bigger. It wasn't, he might have lost that battle, but he won the war. So, it's very important that we come to the second stage, which return to Karbala. Where did people visibly started seeing what Imam Hussein alayhi salam was talking about? It's Arbaeen. It's Arbaeen. If we want to see the triumph that Imam Hussein alayhi salam was talking about, if we want to talk about the conquest that he was talking about, don't just look at Arbaeen when Zainab alayhi salam, Imam Zain al-Abidin and Jabir ibn Abdullah al-Ansari arrived. Look at Arbaeen now in Iraq. Every single year, more and more people are coming. Isn't that a conquest? I don't know what conquest is, if it's not. That's the manifestation of it. If it's not winning my heart and your heart and everybody else's heart, and 22 million people and behind them hundreds of millions of people worldwide, what is conquest more better than that? So Imam alayhi salam, his conquest wasn't winning the government, wasn't winning politics, wasn't winning a country, wasn't winning any of these superficial layers. What he was aiming for is winning myself, winning you, winning each of us. That's what Imam Hussein alayhi salam was for. And that's why whoever didn't go with him did not reach that triumph. Arbaeen is the manifestation of that. And of course, Arbaeen wouldn't have been possible, and that triumph wouldn't have been possible if it wasn't for Zainab Salamullah alayha. That's why Lady Zainab Salamullah alayha, and that complementary role that she played, and she displayed, whether in Kufa, in Sham, or when she returned to Karbala, was literally the most important step that made sure that Imam alayhi salam wins. Okay. So, obviously, theological reflections is the impact of that on Islam. We just talked about the impact on our hearts. And we talked about Arbaeen today. And to be honest, what we're doing from Arbaeen, because I know some people might have doubts, we actually have in Kamil al-Ziyarat, we have a whole narration of Imam Sadiq alayhi salam praying for the people who are visiting Imam Hussein alayhi salam in masses. And in Sydney, of course, we're just a little ray, inshallah, that is being shining all the way to the end of the world. All right, so let's go into resilience and commitment. And to be honest, I think Ali can share these slides with everybody later if you want. But these, really, I wanted to talk about very youth-oriented stuff. And I think that we can learn from Imam Hussein alayhi salam in our practical lives. If anyone has attended my lectures in the past knows I really care about the practical aspects as well. Because it's great to remember Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, and we have to, but also it's great if we can actually draw lessons and see how can I practically improve my own self, or improve my brothers and sisters, or improve my community. So when we're talking about resilience, you really, if you look at the Islamic reference, We see that Quran also talks about resilience in many different ways. For example, Prophet Ayub and how he was, he was basically he was all his wealth was taken away, all his children died, he had all sorts of diseases, but he never gave up and he kept thanking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that shows resilience, and that shows standing again in the face of calamity. So the lesson that Imam Hussein alayhi salam displayed in Karbala is actually endorsed by Quran as well. How to stand up in the time of calamity. And how can you develop resilience in personal challenges? So that's where we bring it to ourselves. Because it's great to look at Imam Hussein alayhi salam in the historical context, but in my context, what does it mean? Let's see from mental health perspective. Mental health perspective, actually according to the American Psychological Association, resilience helps individuals cope with stress and anxiety. Anyone here in the crowd doesn't have stress or anxiety? Put your hands up. Anyone have never felt stress or anxiety? We all do, right? Actually, clinically, one of the best ways to help with your stress management is resilience. So how can I build resilience? Okay, should I go to, like Imam Hussein, grab a sword and go in the middle of the street and try to fight? No, that's not how you build resilience. So what is the personal tips that we can give? And again, you can share it later. What I want to really concentrate on, that's always there are personal level ways you can build that skill, but also there are community level. And this, alaykum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And it's very important that we look at self-development. It's very important to look at self-development on personal level, but also community level. Because on personal level, I can build myself, but sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So, for example, one of the things on personal level we can do is basically self-care routines. So how can I have self-care routines? Like, for example, journaling, or even using creative writing or poetry or whatever it is that allows you to let your emotions, how you're feeling, you note it down on paper. It helps a lot. Meditation, prayer. By the way, meditation doesn't mean only yoga, like I'm not trying to promote yoga here. But meditation can be by praying. It can be through dua kumail, through dua makaram al-akhlaq, or you sitting down. We have a narration from Imam Ali alayhi salam salawatullahi wa salam alayhi that says, تفكر ساعة خير من عبادة 1000 سنة أو 70 سنة. That means if you sit down and reflect for an hour, it's better than worshipping for 1,000 years, or 70 years, sorry, in this one, 70 years. So it's very important for us. By the way, when the Imam says 70 years, doesn't mean you go and sit with him. He's trying to emphasize and exaggerate how it is important for you to reflect. So it's very important for us to teach ourselves and block. Like I know some scholars that used to say, like, before you go to sleep every night, try to look at your day and see how did you go with it. I'm a workaholic. I usually do it about my work. How did I perform in my work? But do it on personal level as well, also professional. How did I do today? What aspects do I need to improve? What did I do that I might have to fix? The second thing is develop some problem-solving skills, so that we all have challenges in life, right? Everybody of us has challenges. Who doesn't have any challenges in life? Can you put your hands up? Yeah, if you're in primary school, most likely you have an older sibling, brother or sister, most likely brother who bullies you, right? If you go to high school, everybody bullies you, right? Now, coping mechanism, you possibly have to learn how to roast them back, but don't. Some people deserve it, some people don't. So basically problem-solving skills. How to deal if someone tries to bully you into something. How do I deal when my mom is not happy with me because I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do? All of these skills that we learn, how can I do my assignments? How can I do my work? How can I prepare for my, whatever task I have? The second thing is community level. The community level is really, and this is really for, you collectively as a group, I don't think this is just for each of you, but I think each of you can also make it happen, is that how can we form a support group together? You know, how can we, obviously all the language I used here has to be professional, but it's literally, you have no idea how support groups help. Sometimes support groups can be, you know, Quranic groups that you come together to recite Quran, but afterwards have a chat together. Because most likely any problem you have, most likely somebody else has the same problem, by the way. You know, I've been dealing with youth in our community all my life, and trust me, 90% of the problems are exactly the same. We just think I'm embarrassed about that. Well, that's why sometimes talking to a group, but of course it has to be a group that you trust. And the second thing is participate in community resilience building exercises. And again, these can be workshops, can be peer mentoring. So when it comes to these skills building, I have to emphasize this. When it comes to skills building, there are two aspects which are important. And this is encouraging your youth group to actually run these activities yourselves. And by the way, I'm not talking about just resilience skills, any skills that you want to teach each other. One, you need someone who does the training, who knows what they're doing. But then after the training, it's the peer support that makes sure that this training sticks. Because trust me, and you all either go to uni or school, so you know what I mean. Trust me, 90% of what you learn in class, you wouldn't remember later. What you would remember is your friend helping you with something, or reminding you of something, or when you discuss it with them, or when you go back and you actually read the notes again, where you study it again. True? So it's very important. The peer support is very important. For example, asking, are you okay? If I see one of my friends not coming to the mosque for a few weeks, I grab the phone and ask, are you okay? What's happening? It's very important. A lot of people say, oh, you know, Anmar tadakhal b'hayateh. I don't want him to feel like I'm intruding in his life. Or, you know, the sisters, you know, she might not like me, that's why she's not coming. Grab the phone, send them a message. Because trust me, sometimes people just need to vent out. Second is commitment to principles. And I strongly believe that Imam Hussein alayhi salam is the best example that you can ever bring to that in history, not just in Islam. We all know his unwavering commitment to his principles, even though he faced death. And we all know his own statement, Al-Maut khayrun min rukub al-ari, wal-ar khayrun min dukhul al-nari. That means death for me is better than to be humiliated, and being humiliated is better for me than to go to the fire of hell. And of course, we used the quote earlier about him making it very clear that I did not rise except for reform. So what's the lesson that we want to draw from that is importance of staying committed to your values and your goals. See, it's very important to be committed to your values, but also to your goals. Now, we have to differentiate what our values are and what our goals are, and we have to commit to both. One of the things that is very important is you know your destiny. So values is what drives you, but the destiny is where you want to get to, the vision. I give you a very good example of Imam Hussein alayhi salam and a young person who talked to him about it. On the way from Mecca to Karbala, Imam Hussein alayhi salam, while riding his horse, he had a bit of a nap. When he woke up, he started repeating, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un, la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah, 3 times. Ali al-Akbar noticed his father's, not happy. He came and started riding this to Imam Hussein alayhi salam and said, Father, why do I see you tastarja? That means saying, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. He said, while I was walking, I had a microslip, and I see a knight, as if a knight was riding towards us and saying, these people are riding towards their death while their death is riding towards them. And of course, I said, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Ali al-Akbar straight away asked Imam Hussein, أَوَلَسْنَا عَلَى الْحَقِّ يَا أَبَتَا? Father, aren't we on the right path? Imam says, إِي وَاللَّهِ وَالَّذِي نَفْسِي بِيَدِهِ. Yes, I swear by the one who holds my soul in his hand. Ali al-Akbar replies, then we shouldn't be minding if death falls upon us or we fall upon death. See that clarity, and Imam alayhi salam was extremely happy with his answer. See the clarity of knowing your goals and knowing your values, then it doesn't matter what happens. See how resilience we were talking about before, and in the next slide I'm going to talk about resilience and commitment come together. When you committed to a destiny and you have the right set of values that are guiding you towards it, then what happens? The journey becomes much more beautiful. Because it doesn't matter what happens, you're committed to what? The results that you want, right? From mental health perspective, it's actually commitment to personal values can enhance mental well-being by providing a sense of purpose and direction. Because when you have a purpose and direction, you're not going to look at the little things happening around you. For example, I'll give you a practical example. Let's be very practical. Let's say you go to school or you go to uni. Who of you here loves maths? Put your hand up. Oh, okay, too many of you. All right, I thought less. Okay. Who did in high school or now in high school in year 12 did 4 units maths? Oh wow, we have nerds. Anyway, welcome to the crowd, man. All right, so my twin sister did 4 units maths. I did it for 1 week and I dropped out. Anyway, I think 3 units was too much. Anyway, it's very important if we look at, for example, sometimes when we're doing maths, when we're doing one thing I really hated at uni was pharmacology. I really hated pharmacology. Anyone studying pharmacology or study? Oh, okay. Yeah, all right. So you understand my pain, right? Yeah. We're brothers and sisters in pain. Pharmacology, I always used to fall asleep in pharmacology lectures. They really were boring me out. I don't know why, but I did. So what keeps me going, because I knew one day I don't have to study pharmacology anymore and I'm going to graduate. So knowing your destiny always helps you to cope with all the pressures that you're going to face in your everyday life. True? Because that commitment gets you there. Now, if you decide, no, I'm not committed, you're going to drop out. All right. On a personal level, and again, I think this can be shared later, set SMART goals, achievable goals. I think anyone that doesn't know SMART goals, I'm happy to come another week and just talk about this planning and the stuff on SMART goals. I'm a nerd myself. Anyway, and having SMART goals, for example, your goals have to be specific, they have to be measurable, they have to be achievable, and they have to be realistic, and they have to be timely. So how can I set goals that I can achieve in life? By the way, I'm not talking about just religiously, I'm not talking about just study-wise, in every aspect of your life. I'm not saying be a nerd and have a plan and like everything written down. You can be, but I'm not saying that. What I'm trying to say is have a goal that will actually make you committed to them so that you can finish on time. The second thing is create a personal mission statement that aligns with your values. What's my mission in life? What I want to achieve in life. On a community level, get involved in community initiatives that align with your values. For example, our gathering here today is a very basic and very perfect example of this. And of course, encourage and support others in their personal and community. Every single time I'm going to talk about community, I'm going to talk about 2 things. First of all, getting together, because trust me, getting together is the most important thing you can do. And secondly, peer support. So by you supporting your peers, by you making sure that your brother or your sister are doing better, you will do better too. All right. Third one is balancing resilience and commitment. Again, how can we bring what we talked about together? And resilience and commitment are very good together. Hamid ibn Muslim, or Humayd ibn Muslim, depends on the narrators, he says, and he's from one of the enemies. So I'm sure all of you on the day of Ashura have heard this name. He's one of the main narrators of Ashura, and he was actually from the enemy. He wasn't like a fighter, but there were a lot of people until today. They're the journalists. They attend so that they can narrate it, and they get some money, later, because who would go and say, "All right, do you want me to tell you what happened on Ashura?" And he will gather some money. So it was like a business for them. So there's a lot of narrators like that. Hamid ibn Muslim was one of them. He says himself, "Ma ra'aytu makthuran qat." That means by Allah, I have never seen a person surrounded, so the enemy have surrounded him from every part, whose sons, family, and companions were killed in front of him, more steadfast and stronger-hearted than him, than Hussein alayhi salam. Like on the day of Ashura, he lost all his family. He lost his sons, he lost his brothers, he lost his companions. And they were killed in the worst possible way. He goes towards the end when he was alone and the enemy was surrounding him from everywhere. He was still steadfast and he was still strong-hearted. That's commitment and resilience together. Played very well by the Imam Salamullah alayhi, displayed to us. So then how can we really use resilience to help us be committed? And how can our commitment help us to be resilient? That's basically the balancing act that we have to do. And from mental health perspective, of course, balancing resilience and commitment, these traits can reduce burnout and increase life satisfaction. Trust me, two of the major problems of our life today is burnout and satisfaction. A lot of people have no satisfaction either in work or in their studies, or their personal lives, or even their relationships or whatever they do. Or they do burnout. They work too much. I was talking to Ibrahim today about me working too much. These days, for example, I'm guilty of that, burnout myself. We all do, right? Zain is here, my son, he knows. My little son Hadi, he's only just turned 4. He always tells me, Baba, kulla dawam, and he screams at me every day I come back home. Because literally, like sometimes I go 17 hours a day. But at the end of the day, you have to remember this burnout will not help you. What will help you is building resilience and commitment so that, what are my first priorities? What's my commitment? So this is a lesson to myself first, everybody else. Ibrahim gave me a lecture today. Now you cop my lecture back, Ibrahim. Anyway, so on personal level and community level. Personal level, it's very important that we create a balanced routine that includes work, rest, and recreation. Oh, I can't believe that I'm saying this, Ibrahim, but anyway, that was his lecture today. The second thing is we have to use stress management techniques to avoid burnout. And, these are, again, coming back to the second one, is we can only do them when we help each other to do them. So how can we as a group, for example, do a stress management stuff together? How can we help each other throughout it? These are extremely important life skills that not only will help us to cope with the pressures of life, but also helps us to be better parents in the future. And mashallah, all of you are in this age where you're actually, inshallah, either parents already or will be coming soon. And of course, these events, community level, are very important. All right, the last one, I bored you, and then after that, I'm gonna stop talking and I'm gonna listen to you guys, but selflessness and support. And this is very important because we talked about resilience and commitment throughout, but now what we want to talk about is resilience and commitment. All is great, but without me going out there and supporting my peers, this is not gonna happen. Because we said it's very important that we support each other. Imam Ali alayhi salam saying, he who does not have mercy on the weak and doesn't show support, doesn't show respect to the elder is not one of us. So Imam alayhi salam basically says, my Shia, my followers, the people who connect to me, are the people who have mercy on the weak. That means support the people when they need support, and have respect to their elders. MashaAllah, all of you have respect to their elders. Alhamdulillah, elders are not here for me to check. Now, the lesson. Selflessness enhances resilience and supports commitment. We know that. Mental health wise, we know that acts of kindness and support can improve mental health and build supportive network. Now, very important that when we talk about mental health here, can help me. Have you seen yourselves, when you help someone, whether this help is to Qima on the day of Ashura, or helping somebody with their homework, or helping somebody with their work, or someone is doing a renovation and you're offering them to help, or someone just needs someone to listen to them and you help, don't you actually feel better inside you? That's your mental health improving, correct? Some people I have seen are better at helping others than helping themselves. But then by helping others, they're helping themselves. And also, it creates a supportive network. And that is, for example, what we talked about, or we talk about all the time. It takes a village to bring up a child. It doesn't take a village to bring up a child if that village doesn't have a supportive network. And it's very important that we living in such a extremely individualistic society that we build this network amongst ourselves. And trust me, as soon as you graduate and start going to work, you rarely have time to see each other. So how can we create this supportive network so that we can maintain it in the future? And the personal, of course, volunteering, you guys all, mashallah, do, and practice empathy by actively listening and providing support to others. Please, I cannot emphasize this enough. Listen first. Zaini, I almost repeat this, listen to him every single day. Please listen first. When you're supporting somebody, do not, Ibrahim doesn't include you, do not give them a lecture immediately. Listen to them first. Because by only the person venting out, you might actually already be helping them. And also, they will trust you more and connect with you more. And also, you're gonna do a needs assessment. You will see what they value the most and where they are lagging behind. So if someone comes home, your brother, your sister, your cousin, your friend, your neighbor, came back home and he wasn't doing well in his maths exam, sit down and listen, why didn't he do well? Before you judging them and giving them a lecture. Yeah, I know, Ali, you're looking at Ahmed. Ahmed, how did you do in the text today? Anyway, we'll talk about it later. So it's very important that we actually listen first and then providing the support. And also community establish or contribute to community support programs. MashaAllah, you all do that. Food drives, qima, timan qima, you know, or whatever else you do. Mentorship programs. Mentorship programs are very important, honestly. And mentorship programs, that's the peer support. That's the kind of peer support we need. How can we have mentors in life? You know, every one of us should be a mentee. Every one of us should be a mentor. I have my mentors as well. You know, even at this stage, I do. It's very important we do. Organic events, that doesn't mean organized, sorry, organic. I'm becoming too leftist. Organized events that bring people together to support and uplift each other. Obviously, tonight is a very good example of that. All right. All of that brings us to the interactive session. Can you guys prove Ibrahim wrong, please, please, for the sake of my dignity, do? Because he told me in the car that no one is gonna say an answer to the interactive session. But please, not for the sake of me, for the sake of proving Ibrahim wrong, especially if not anyone. That's Ibrahim Ramadani, just in case anyone doesn't know. Put your hand up, just in case, yeah, anyway. So what I want us to do, and this is, I'm gonna listen to you guys and we listen to each other. Who can tell me some sort of a reflective experience they had where they, you know, were at a problem, a challenge, and then they remembered Imam Hussein or remembered Arbaeen or remembered Ashura or remembered something, you know, Islamic, doesn't have to be even Imam Hussein specifically, that actually taught them or encouraged them to seek a solution or to mend a gap or anything like that. Who wants to go first? Yalla Ali, you're You're the leader of the group. Come on. Yalla, lead by example. It can be something basic.
The lessons we get from Ahlul Bayt Salamullah alayhim, they can not only be implemented on a religious scale, but in our day-to-day life, there's always lessons that we can implement from Ahlul Bayt Salamullah alayhim. And with my kind of work, you always have to be balanced when approaching people. So a famous hadith from Imam Ali alayhi salam that always gets implemented, inshallah, to a good scale by myself is لا تكن صبا فتكسر ولا تكن ليلا فتقوم. When approaching people, you can't always approach the same person or the two people the same way, because each person has his own their own way of growing up, their own way of approaching a specific situation, reacting to a situation. You can't be too harsh to some people, or you can't be too soft, because they might use your niceness for...
Ahsant. Very beautiful reflection. Yalla, who's going to second that? Uwais.
We were talking earlier in the car about bullying in high school, and I told you about how I deal with them I deal with them like another quote from Ali ibn Abi Talib. There are two kinds of people on this planet: your brother in faith and your equal in humanity. So the ones that are like Muslim, like like what I said, Jamal, that are with me, they're closer to me than let's say some other people in my class. But it's not like I completely abandon those other people. I still like talk with them and stuff, which is why I don't get bullied nearly as much as the guy sitting next to me.
Yep.
Either that or I just bully them.
I love how you're admitting that you're bullying them. This is the first time I hear him admitting that he's bullying someone.
I've admitted it before.
Okay, that's good. Thank you. So it's very important for us also to know, like, that some people we have some sort of duty of care towards more than others. I think that's what you're trying to say. Thank you. Anyone else? Ella, come on, guys. Yes? Yalla, we take two more. Ibrahim, you're not going to win this. Ibrahim, what about you? Give us a reflection. Come on. You gave me a whole lecture today, man. Summarize the lecture. Anyone? Yalla, one more. Okay, so I think it's very important for us to always remember that we have in our own daily lives a lot of examples where we would actually and subconsciously apply something that we have learned. As an example from Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Yes, please.
Every time I had this kid named Isaac, he was all the way every day play with his friend Chris Campbell. Every time I asked them if I could play, he like, no, but you're kind of bad. So he always does that, and he always lies about being the richest person in the world.
That's a very big lie to pull off, but anyway. And how did you react to that? Beautiful. See, one of the brilliant skills that we learn from Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam is that we don't become gullible. So if someone is trying to lie to us, we actually, discover their lie, and we kind of don't befriend liars, all right? Inshallah, your friend is, you don't need to not befriend them. Inshallah, he was just a kid who was just exaggerating a bit. But you never know. His dad might be driving a Ferrari. I don't know. All right. So now we get to Q&A. So now any questions you guys have, and these doesn't need to be questions. It could be a comment, could be a feedback. Please go ahead. It doesn't have to be related to the topic. It can be generally speaking. While everybody's thinking of a question, Not that anybody is, but anyway. While everybody's thinking of a question, inshallah, I get a couple of questions. One thing I want to mention about Imam Rida alayhi salam, which is so that we also commemorate him today. See, Imam Rida alayhi salam also displayed resilience and commitment because Ma'mun, the Khalif of the time, forced Imam Rida alayhi salam to bring him all the way from Medina to Maru. Maru was in Khurasan, where is Mashhad today. And for anybody who has gone to the ziyarah of Imam Rida alayhi salam? Okay, mashallah, most people have. So you would know that the distance between the Arab countries, and he was in Medina, so even further, all the way to Mashhad is a very, very long distance. So he took the Imam all the way there, and he forced the Imam to be basically the crown prince, so that he can be the caliph after him. And Imam alayhi salam rejected. He forced the Imam to accept it. Imam gave him conditions that he will not appoint anybody, he will not fire anybody, he will not be involved in any budget, he will not be involved in any law, he will not be involved in any state affairs. And he accepted. So Imam Salamullah alayh accepted, and then eventually Imam was martyred. Now, one thing Imam Rida alayhi salam did when he was there in Maru, under the guard of the Caliph of the time, and despite the fact he was in a place where they didn't speak Arabic, that the culture was different, the environment was different, the people were different, he won the minds and the hearts of the people very quickly, to the extent that Ma'mun killed him because of that. Just before his death, one day, it was prayer time for Eid. And Ma'mun came and insisted on Imam Rida alayhi salam that he leads the Eid prayer. Imam didn't accept. He insisted on the Imam didn't accept. Until he forced the Imam, he said, you either lead the Eid prayers this year, or I will kill you. So Imam accepted. He goes, but one condition. I do it my way, and you will not like my way. He said, no, it's all right. And for him, look, I have the army, I have the government, I have the wealth, I have the authority. What this one single man, all the way from Arabia, sitting here, gonna do? So on the day of Eid, Imam alayhi salam told his companions, the very, very few companions that were with him, tomorrow, come in the morning, bare feet, without turbans on your head, and whatever I do, you repeat the same thing. They go, all right. Early in the morning, Imam came out of his residence without a turban, bare feet, and he started to walking. On the day of Eid, what do you usually do? You put more clothes on, you put your best jumper on. You don't come with just your normal clothes and without a turban back then, where turban was basically the most important aspect of their dress, and you start walking like that. And he started walking while only remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In a loud voice, his companions also the same as with him, and he walked towards outside of the city. Everybody of the people that saw Imam in that way, they also started taking their nice jackets off, putting their turbans off, and walking behind the Imam. To the extent that even the princes and the generals of the army were embarrassed that they were standing and sitting on and riding on their horses. They dismounted and they also took off everything and started walking behind the Imam. And Imam was heading towards outside the city. The messengers started, the spies, because of course the Khalif would have spies, they started flowing to Ma'mun saying, Ali ibn Musa, Imam Rida alayhi salam, is doing a coup against you. He's doing something. And he goes, it's all right, it's all right. Does he have weapons? Does he have people? No, he doesn't have weapons. He's just walking. All right, keep him. Until it got to the extent Imam exited the city, they say no residence was left in the city. Everybody went behind the Imam Salamullah alayh. So then one of his generals, of Ma'mun's generals, comes to him and says, if Imam performs the prayer today, you will not be Khalif anymore. And then he orders the Imam, they order them to go, capture the Imam and bring him to him. When they brought the Imam, he said, why did you do that? He goes, I didn't do anything. I told you, let me not do it. If I do it, I'll do it my way. You accepted to do it my way. That was the deal. This is my way. So the Imam Salamullahi alayh, what he was concentrating on and what Ma'mun saw in display, he thought for that period he had put the Imam under guard. He brought him to a city where no many Shia were around. He brought him to a city where not everybody knew him. And if they knew him, they just knew him as the grandson of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They didn't know Imam Rida to the extent that people in Hijaz or Iraq knew. But what he didn't know is who Imam Rida alayhi salam was. And that is why Imam Sadiq alayhi salam says, if one of our companions or if one of our followers, one of our Shia, lives in a village or in a town and there is 100,000 residents, we expect him to be the best. Wala fadl. He says, and them, that person, that Shia, that follower, being the best of these 100,000, he's actually doing nobody a favor. That means that's the least of his duty. This is the least of what's expected of him or her. So it's extremely important for us to remember that when we talk about resilience, commitment, support, we actually talk about everybody around you, because you never know whose hearts and minds you will win. With that, inshallah, now we have some questions. The questions don't have to be related to the topic. It can be off topic. You have a question? No? Okay. Always.
You know how an imam can only be buried by the next imam? Like
Yes.
along in the line? So during the Arbaeen, when they returned to Karbala with the heads of Imam Hussein alayhi salam and the companions, did the Imam Zain al-Abidin unbury Imam Hussein and return his head with him? Or?
Yes, so a lot of narrations, of course, some narrations say otherwise, but a lot of the narrations say yes, Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam did put the head back to the body of the Imam Salamullah alayhi. Yes. All right, I think we don't have any more questions. I don't know if everybody tired and is getting late, or because mashallah everybody doesn't have questions because I have provided that much boredom tonight. But most likely the second one, but anyway, inshallah, we will go with the first one. So, inshallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala always guides us to the right path and to always gives us the strength and the resilience and the commitment so that we can support each other, we can help each other, but also through helping others, we help them ourselves, inshallah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hasten the reappearance of our Imam Salamullahi alayh, because as the narration says, فَفِي خُرُوجِهِ فَرَجَكُمْ. That means your relief is through his reappearance. So if any of us wants relief in life, which we all do, it is actually through the return of our Imam alayhi salam. For his quick return, please recite aloud salawat. For all our ulama, for all our shuhada, for all the mu'mins that passed away all around the world, please recite a salawat with a fatiha.